Hello, welcome back to BSLIVE. Today we're going to take a look at this interesting module called EasyBpy. EasyBpy is something that you can purchase for $1. It's basically a snippet of module. You just put it inside Blender, and once you do that, you can simply load it and you can do like Python scripting, and it's make um, Python scripting in Blender much easier. So yeah, let's get started. So normally, if you want to use bpy to make objects in Blender, for example, if you want to make Suzanne, you don't know the bpy yet, so you create monkey, right? And by default, Blender will give you this history, and the bpy to generate the monkey head is bpy.ops.mesh primitive monkey add the monkey at this location with this scale, blah blah blah. So that's really long, but you can work this way. And of course, if you create a new text objects in order to create a monkey head, you do something like this: import bpy, and then you do bpy.ops mesh primitives, and you basically copy all of this, and then you paste it here. And you don't need to have all this parameter, but you need maybe the locations. So let's try 1 0 0. So this will create another monkey head next to this guy. So yeah, the code is really long, right? But if you are using something like EasyBpy, it's so much easier. So the way you can use the module is you load it. You can do it this way, like from EasyBpy import all. So it's going to load all the commands, so you can just use it. Or normally the way I like to use it is to import EasyBpy as EB, for example. So now once we do that, if we do EB, so EB is a module that I place here inside Blender. If I dir EB, we're gonna get a lot of commands, all these new operators that come with the module. So let's take a look how. So this module have something like this, right? These operators create Suzanne. So this is the commands. You can actually look up the easyBpy.py and take a look at what's inside the module, but you can simply just use it this way as well. So for example, if you want to create Suzanne, you just go eb. Hit tab and you get all this list, but the one that we want is probably called create. Okay, create Suzanne, create objects, create monkey, create cube, etc. So if we do type create and then hit tab once again, we have a bunch of them still, but it's already filtered. So let's say we want to create a cube very quickly. That's what we do. We just type in create cube. So eb create monkey or Suzanne, for example. There. So it's becoming super easy to do this. Say you want to hide the box, for example. The box is called cube. You can just type in something like this. So I'm hiding the cube very quickly. And you can, if I'm not wrong, you can also use help and you go eb create Suzanne, for example. Okay. In this case, not very helpful, or you just do create Suzanne. Oh, it's a functions. Oh, it doesn't have help. Okay, it says create Suzanne takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. So this guy doesn't really take argument. So in that case, we don't need to worry about that for now. So we can create icosphere, for example, and it's gonna generate icosphere for us. Maybe it has a translate. Okay, translate along x-axis for our icosphere, for example. If you started to memorize some of the commands or the functions, it's becoming so much easier. So this will give us an error. Translates along x icosphere. Yeah, it's actually expecting some kind of value. That's actually, if I'm doing it this way, require positional argument val. So in this case, let's give it a 2, for example. So it's translating it 2 units to the right. Whatever I'm selecting, I believe it's gonna translate. Oh, actually, it's only doing it for the last active objects. So if we have multiple Suzanne, we select them, and it's only gonna translate 1 object. Okay, so that's fine. Let's take a look what else we have here. We got a lot of things like translate. Okay, hide and unhide, of course, very useful. Vertex paint, SO. What is SO? Show objects. This one to change the shade. So a lot of functions, useful functions that you often use, and you want to repeat it. For example, you can do it using EasyBpy. Maybe like creating an object and then assigning some kind of modifier. Set material, set geometry to origin, set frame selected. This gonna give us the list of objects, selected objects, etc. Scale objects, okay, rotate. So if you're doing it this way, it's so much easier. For example, so we want to import, let's say, okay, we're gonna do it this way from EasyBpy import all of the functions, and then we can use something like for I in range 10, create Suzanne, let's make 5 Suzanne, and then translate along X using that I. Okay, see, this become a very simple kind of very simple programming language. I mean, if you understand the basic syntax, and so these functions will help you to go through Blender very quickly, especially for beginner programmers. You can set the render engine to cycles or Eevee simply by running the commands. So maybe we can create new console. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have another Python console while still having this list. can I just, you know, EB in this case, okay, from EasyBpy import all set render engine to cycles and try again. This time change it to EB. There, this guy actually is changing. This is something that you can do by hand, but this little snippet of functions from EasyBpy will make it so much easier to do. Because normally you have to dig into BPy, and that's actually a lot of BPy is hard to find. I mean, a lot of the operators is pretty deep, and you have to understand how to find it. Add Vertex Add Wave. I believe Add Wave is actually gonna add a wave modifier to this guy. I don't know. I'm still figuring things out with this EasyBpy, but at least the command is simple. So Add Wave, of course, it does what it does. It's adding this wave modifier to the monkey. So I'll just save this very quickly. Of course, it doesn't do everything for you. Like, for example, if you want to offset this wave for each of the monkey, you can do that, of course, manually, or you can sort of offset it here. You can use Python to randomize the offset, for example. So for our monkey head, for example, create Suzanne, translate each one of them along X, maybe times 2. We can add wave to this guy. I don't know what this, maybe we can add wave with parameter. Okay, it doesn't like any parameter. So in our case, we just run this script. It's gonna create Suzanne, and each one of them already waving. But normally, if you want to adjust the offset, you still, in this case, you know, doing it manually, or you can use Python. And to use Python to adjust the offset, you hover over the parameter and maybe copy this parameter and then just randomize it, just assign a different value or something. That's in terms of learning Python and programming using Blender. This is actually kind of things that you want to do when you just first starting. My Python skill is pretty much like that. I mean, I get help by using Spreadchalk add-on or animation nodes, and sometimes by, you know, just collecting the snippet of Python commands and then you starting to create functions. I haven't gone into like making interface or things like that. But BPy, I mean EasyBpy is, yeah, very cool. So this is what you can do. Copy object. Okay, create. It does what it does. It can help you create things very quickly. Current frame. So things like current frame. So it tells you what frame you are currently in. For example, this is another really handy EasyBpy. Cursor to active. I do this quite often, right? Cursor to active. Let's try cursor to active. Context is incorrect. Probably we need to be in edit mode. Snap cursor to select it. Or maybe this is buggy. So delete hierarchy, delete material, delete texture, deselect all objects, display as wire, go to frame end, go to frame start, geometry to origin, get materials. So let's try get materials. Get materials. Non-type has no attribute data. Let's try again this hide. So hide works. Location, make vector, math, move objects to collection. Okay, this one should be easy, easy and useful. It's the same as using M and created collections and put it there. Gradients, move objects, rotation, scale. So transform. Select all meshes. Okay, this one is handy. Also, this is something that's hidden over here. Select all by type. For example, mesh. So selecting all the mesh. So you can do that. Select all meshes. Selecting all of the mesh. And then can you select selected objects? It does give you selected object. There's also a command called SO, right? I was expecting this to get all of the objects. However, selection to active, set end frame. Okay, this is handy. There. I just use EasyBpy to change the frame end to 500. There. That's super handy. That's useful, and you can set frame. You can jump to any frame. Let's jump to frame 200. There we go. Set frame interval. Okay, set geometry to origin. Set object mode. Okay, so we can go to object mode or edit mode. Show, translate, hide, unhide. So EasyBpy is, I think, it's a proof of concept. It's cost $1. That's why it's not doing much. But for beginner animators, if you ever want to make a grid of monkeys, for example, or a grid of icosphere or whatever, you can do it this way. So you can do something like this for I in range and for Y in range 5. You can end up making 25 icosphere. Create ico, or just create a box, right? Create cube and translate it along X in doing it this way. Translate it along y with this value. So hopefully if I run this, I have grid of cube. Each one of them already have wave functions being applied. So I'm gonna save this very quickly. And to offset the value, we need to look at each of the modifier and randomize the time. Should be able to do that. Maybe we have something to do with, we have modifier. We don't have modifier. We can actually collect all the modifier, select all modifier or something. But yeah, but anyway, that's actually, I'm just going through the basics of EasyBpy module. It's currently very, very limited from the way I can see. It's actually for doing things like object transforming, object creations, and to get used to selections and lists, and perhaps doing hide and unhide. So not much. Still pretty useful, and the thing it does with the frame is actually really handy. So you can procedurally generate basic primitive objects and then make changes to the object somehow, and then maybe assign it a different material, and then you can hide and unhide them or scale them if you need to assign it like a modifier. Like in this case, I'm using wave, so the wave can be randomized. So that's a nice little practice for beginners in scripting or Python in Blender or for other things. But yeah, it can be pretty fun, especially if you, for example, you want to create light. This one doesn't have create light. Okay, you can create material, maybe give it a different name, and then randomize the color of the materials, and then put it into collection so it's nice and tidy and organized. But other than that, it's not much. But this EasyBpy is really quite interesting. So if the commands of bpy is simplified, then it's gonna look like EasyBpy. Otherwise, you can simply use bpy and then operators, and then whenever you want to create objects, you create an object transform, and then you link the mesh into the objects, and then do things like that. And then yeah, it's a whole different things, whole different areas. But it lets you do more if you understand bpy. So you can start with the EasyBpy first and play around with it. Maybe you don't need anything more complicated than that. Try assigning different modifier. Like this add wave is actually interesting. Maybe it should have a lot more, like add subdivisions or add wireframe. Mostly it's involving transform and scale. Hopefully the EasyBpy will get updated and you will have more commands. So, but for now, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you enjoy this quick look on EasyBpy in Blender. And if you are a beginner in Python or scripting or coding, I think it's a fun way to get you started. Yeah, so thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.